Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Stately Office Hours. This is where us, the team at Stately, talk to you about everything that's new in Stately Studio and with XState. We'll start off as we do every week by introducing the teammates we've got here. So I'm Laura, and I do advocacy and education and stuff for Stately. David?
Hey, I'm David, founder of Stately, creator of XState.
And Jenny?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny. I do operations and developer relations at Stately.
And Anders?
Hey, I'm Anders. I do software engineering here at Stately. That and fighting CSS today.
That is actually no. That's actually my fault. The CSS fighting you're having to do today. I was about to blame it on Docusaurus, but I think that it's actually me. And Nick.
I'm Nick. I do product design, and this season, I guess mostly development, though.
For now.
I love it this season. It's like we're a TV show. This season on the Stately Show. Well, first up on the Stately Show, we should do a recap of what's been going on with recently at Stately for all of those who have missed it. David, we have released the beta of XState version 5. I mean, we've been talking about it a lot recently, but would you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's right. So as you all may have known, if you've been watching Office Hours for a while, we have quietly released XState V5 beta. And also thank you to all of those who have been kicking the tires and playing around with it and, just making some cool stuff. We made an official announcement post on May 25th, so just a few days ago, announcing XState version 5 beta, the goals of it, which first and foremost, it's to flatten the learning curve. So that means reducing the API surface area, simplifying the terminology, and creating lots of examples. So I actually really encourage you to go to the examples folder because we have a bunch and we have a bunch more coming up. So what you could do in order to easily access the examples, and let me zoom in a bit here, is you could just click and there's going to be this handy opening code sandbox button. And so this is always kept up to date, which is a common theme with what we build here at Stately. We want everything to be synchronized and up to date with each other. But when you open it in Code Sandbox, you will actually see the demo like just inside here. This is not very well styled, but this is just an example of how to use XState V5 beta, and there's a lot more examples coming down. So just keep that in mind. We have a good overview of some of the new features and also a lot of breaking or just minor breaking changes, or I guess they're technically major. But yeah, so we just have all of that information in this blog post. And of course, if you go to the Stately docs, keep in mind that this is a work in progress, but you could go to the top right here, click XState V5, and then you will see that that we have some in progress XState V5 docs. And so these include sections like a quick start, if my browser doesn't freeze, where you could just create a machine and then gradually enhance it with XState features, such as delayed transitions, context, and using it within a framework. And also migration guide, and recently we've added some content on actors. So some of the new actor features, you can now get an idea of what that looks like and how you could use pretty much any logic in your XState code. So yeah, definitely check those out.
I've just read a blog post that will soon be coming to the Stately blog all about the actor model written by Gavin. That is really good. So you've got that to look forward to as well. David, just jumping back quickly to the examples in the XState repository. If folks want to see the V5 examples, they'll need to make sure that they're viewing the next branch, don't they?
Yes, that's exactly correct. And if you click the link in the blog post, it will take you to that next branch. So again, if you're in the normal XState repository, make sure to go to next and then go to the examples directory. And we also have some examples coming up, which is these serverless workflow examples. And the purpose of these examples is to show you how XState can be used on the server side. So I'm actually really excited for these examples. We're going to be working through them with Gavin next week. So maybe we'll stream that. That'll be pretty fun.
That'd be cool. Great. And I'm hoping that we might have a blog about that when we've got those examples out too, because I know that people are itching to find out more about server-side examples.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of requests for that.
Absolutely.
So next up, David did a really, really cool demo in one of his talks recently. And so we thought it would be cool to make it available to all of you here so that you could see a little bit more about AI and XState.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I have to switch windows. Here we go. All right. So I gave a few talks recently at some conferences where I was demoing an espresso machine. And this is really to show you the capabilities of XState and what modeling your application logic as a state chart, like what kinds of things you could do with that, even future facing things like using AI, for instance. But my philosophy is that you should use AI in the most minimal way possible. But even using just a tiny drop of AI, you could get some spectacular results, or at least I think so. In this example, we have an espresso machine, and I'll just open the visual editor here. And this espresso machine is pretty simple. And I'm actually going to delete this one. It does a few steps, like, you could prepare the beans. Like, let's say that this is an automatic espresso machine where first it grinds the beans, and then it heats the water, and then it tamps the beans and runs the espresso machine. And then once the espresso machine has run, we've made an espresso shot. And then from here, you could do a few things. You could steam the milk, add water, cream, chocolate, whatever you want. Something that's missing from this supposedly intelligent espresso machine, though, is the ability to make things like a cappuccino or a cortado or something like that. So none of these are actually programmed into the state machine. However, with the help of some AI, and actually, let me just show you how the espresso machine works. First of all, these buttons, you could imagine just steps in the espresso machine process where we're heating water, tamping the beans, running the espresso machine, and now we have an espresso shot. And let's say I wanted to make like an Americano, I could heat the water, then combine the water, and now I have an Americano. But let's say that I actually did want to make a cappuccino. So what's going to happen is I actually have an agent over here, and this is using the OpenAI API, which I encourage you to learn. It's a very fun API to use. And we're also using XState Graph. So the role of XState Graph is to traverse the espresso machine and get the shortest paths, which is something that we've been talking a while about, like in the context of model-based testing and other things like this, which isn't really testing. It's more like automation, but it's still pretty cool. And so we're getting all of these shortest paths to a subset of possible states that we could reach. Obviously not every single state, because you could technically make a drink with an infinite number of espresso shots. So we try to limit that here. Although some days I feel like I need a drink like that. And so we go through here and we tell OpenAI, we tell ChatGPT that it's a helpful AI assistant. It's good at making coffee. And we say we want to achieve the goal, which is the goal that the user puts in there. And its role is to choose which of the following end states from those shortest paths match the goal. And so by doing this, the LLM is only responsible for saying, I want to get here. It's not responsible for figuring out which steps to take. That is, the beauty of good old-fashioned AI, which is state machines. You have a directed graph. You could find the shortest path. You could do your simple path planning algorithms to get from the state you are in to the state that you want to be. And so the results of that is, if I ask for a cappuccino and make it, it's again going to go to OpenAI, figure out what that goal state should be, and then execute each of the steps in order to get there. And hopefully it does it correctly this time. Okay, so it's making the drink, steaming the milk. The milk is steamed, it combined it, and I'm not touching anything. So, we had that. And I could even ask for a cafe mocha. I have no idea if this is
Ooh.
going to work. I actually haven't tried this. This is a coffee with chocolate. So, and I'm not, there's nowhere here that says chocolate. So let's see what it does. Hopefully it knows how to make that. Let's see, it's tamping. My heart rate's going up. I don't even need coffee. Steaming milk, combining that. And okay,
Yeah.
it added chocolate. Cool. So we made a cafe mocha. And remember, none of this is programmed in the state machine itself. So this just goes to show you how, like, with the tiniest touch of AI, you could add these extra abilities to your apps that are powered by state machines. And so we're going to be experimenting with this in the future, maybe later this year. We don't want to get distracted by it now, but I just wanted to show off just all the different parts, XState, the visual editor, and of course, how you could extend the capabilities of, XState with LLMs. So there you go.
That's so cool. Eric says, Mr. Barista, sir, can I get an Irish coffee? Well, I think that would have required you to have adding alcohol into your list as well. And that wasn't an option there.
I'll make a more fully featured demo with all of that stuff. I think that'd be really fun to do.
It would be fun. You could do like syrup shots and sprinkles and just get people to make their own orders. That would be a really cool demo.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Also, so we've got a huge amount coming up for you all in the studio. It's just coming along the road. It is like just out of reach right now, and it's going to be launched so soon. So right now we want to focus on just showing you some of the things that are new to the studio right now. And these are just small improvements that we've managed to make whilst we've been working on the cool new features. So David, do you want to show us what's going on with input boxes? Oh, David, you're muted.
Yeah, so I'm muted because there's lawn work going on outside, but this is just a small improvement. And let me see if I could actually zoom in here. So in XState, you may or may not be aware that we have the ability to add metadata. And so just as a reminder, if we say this is like future color green, then this is actually going to show up in the code. Ignore that for now, but yeah, so this shows up in the meta. That was part of another demo. But one request that we've gotten was that these meta values can actually get pretty big. So if I want to say names, and we have like Laura, David, Jenny, Anders, Nick, and everyone else, then you see that we actually have this expanding. So this is just a nice quality of life improvements where you can now have multi-line meta values in here. So
it's just one of many sort of tiny little details that the team are paying attention to. And that came via someone who actually uses the studio made a request for it. And so it's a good reminder that if you have any features that you want to request of us, make sure you let us know at scrolling. I'm trying to get to the feedback. Oh, there we go. Right at the bottom, feedback.stately.ai. And there you can submit requests for features, and you can also upvote other people's requests for features. And what we'll then do is we'll then let you know when they're planned, when they're in progress, or if maybe we don't plan to do it, or at least not yet. And so you can keep track of when that feature goes in, and you can also let us know what's important to you. We do use the upvotes on features to help us prioritize the order in which we work on things. So your votes really do count, and so we appreciate it if you let us know on that. And we got a little sneaky peek, if you were paying close enough attention just then. David, do you want to show us what you've been working on with the export editions?
Yeah, so this is something that I've actually been talking to Farzad, and something that we've been planning for a while. So in the same vein of showing you what XState can do and what state machines and state charts can do. This is just a preview. Like, we're still working on this, and it will be a while before we release this. But I just wanted to give you a quick preview that we are still working on different code exports. So remember that currently we have JavaScript, TypeScript, and JSON. But in the future, we are going to have some more code exports. So just as a proof of concept, and hopefully you could see my screen clear enough. If not, I'll zoom in. But this is the default state machine that we get. And this is not the prettiest AI, but you could see that there's two new types of exports here, Markdown and Mermaid. And we are going to be coming out with more, but I want to show you just how useful these could be. So for example, Markdown, of course, is great when you want to actually use your state machines as documentation. So you could take this, put it in a Markdown editor, and like, for example, actually, let's go here. And I could actually just paste this over here, have a secret gist. And then now you have a Markdown export of your state machine. And so this is something that could be auto-generated, so that you could just reference all of the states in your app and all of the events in each of the states, and even things like descriptions as well, maintaining whatever Markdown you put in those descriptions, because of course, this is just Markdown. And I think this is smart enough to, like, if you click here, well, actually it all fits in one screen, but if you click, it will actually scroll, or it should scroll, have to fix that. In theory, it will scroll to the state so that you could actually simulate the state machine in Markdown. So
that's cool. Also,
yeah.
Internal documentation, that's going to be amazing for that.
Exactly. And so we realize that there's different ways that people might want to consume a state machine. Some people might enjoy looking at the the visual diagram. However, especially when state machines get big, this can get really confusing, which is why we are thinking about different, I guess, modalities, different ways of presenting that same state machine information, such as a Markdown document, which is easily greppable. You could search through it. You could paste it in Notion, etc. But speaking about the visual aspect, GitHub, I think in the last few months, has recently released something that GitLab has had for a while, which is the ability to show mermaid diagrams directly in GitHub. So that was this other experiment right here. And again, this is just a proof of concept. So if we go back over here, and let's say that you're trying to make a comment and you wanted to actually show the state machine that you're working on. In theory, you should be able to just triple tick, right, mermaid, and then paste that mermaid file in. And then when you comment, it didn't work. Hold on, let's try that again. It probably works in the preview. Aha, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah. And so what's really interesting is that in GitHub, this isn't just an image. It's something that, you could move around, zoom in, zoom out. And I guess it'll take a year or two before we convince GitHub to put the Stately editor itself inside of GitHub. But for now, this is pretty cool. That's
exactly what I was going to say. It's really cool, but it's not as cool looking as Stately Studio.
Exactly. And this is the same state machine that you get in Stately Studio. So it just goes to show you, we are still thinking about the different ways that you could export and share these machines with your team.
That's great. As Martin said, particularly about the Markdown, that would make an excellent addition to the CLI. We do have a command line interface if anyone is interested in that. And Eric said, would be great to have an automated process from state machine to Markdown on, say, continuous integration. And yeah, these are all really cool ideas. And you know what I'm going to tell you? You can go to feedback.stately.ai and let us know in there. It's also a really good way when you've got really cool ideas for us to remember all those cool ideas. We've got to keep them in one location. So it's a good way of reminding us and nudging us as well. I seem to remember there is an issue in there that's specifically for nudging Fuzzard to make sure that we add images to drag and drop images to descriptions. So you can use it to nag us if you'd like. We don't mind. I had something that I wanted to share with you all. Now let me see if I can share my screen. So we've been doing a huge amount of work on the docs lately. A lot of that has been around the like making sure that the XState V5 docs and the migration guide are working well. And this is just a tiny little update. So it already existed, but what I've done is I've updated it. And this is our stately guide to writing docs. So if you do want to contribute to our docs, we now have a little guide to help you do that. We have a contribution guide as well. It has some information about how the site is structured. This is also how to work around some of the confusing nature of versioning in Docusaurus. So we've got all the information about how to use that. Some little how-tos on good ways to write docs, and also how to do some cool and clever stuff that is unique to our docs, like being able to embed Stately Studio machines just using the embed machine component. So we have lots of cool features like that. So if you are interested in contributing to our docs, please do. Please let us know if you're interested. Please let me know if these docs don't tell you something that you need to know. We would really appreciate your PRs. If you have any cool examples you want to add, if you want to help us write documentation for Studio, or particularly XState V5, you can see if you look through the V5 docs, there are a lot of to-dos and things that we'd like to add in there. So if you think you could do it, we would love to get your PRs for those particular parts of the content. That would be really cool. And the last thing that I had on my list for today was make sure you remind everyone to go to feedback.stately.ai. You also might have seen that we do have a changelog there as well, which you can also access from Stately Studio under your little user avatar menu. So you can see everything that we have added more recently. We have like new features in there, and recently I've also been adding the improvements that we've been making in Studio 2, so that you can just have an idea of what to look out for when you're using it. And that is the changelog. Unfortunately, it doesn't have dark mode, I don't think, but
I haven't seen it.
But it is very useful if you want to catch up on what we've added since you were last there. Now, does anyone have any questions or feedback that they wanted to give us today? You can always ask us live in the comments. You can let us know on social media. If you have any questions you want us to handle in the next office hours, you can also let us know on social media or in our Discord. Our Discord, if you are not yet a member, is at discord.gg/xstate. That is the Stately and XState Discord. It's just called XState in the URL. And folks, team, do you have anything else that you wanted to share this week? I know that we're all just saving things up for some big releases soon.
Yeah, no, other than Colors is coming along, and so I'm actually really excited. We have been thoroughly testing it. A lot has changed in the canvas, but it's all really good because part of our philosophy is that we want you to be in the canvas as much as possible, and authoring state machines and state charts inside of there instead of just going back and forth between different panels.
Yeah, I finally got my hands on it in the last couple of weeks, and I've been having so much fun making really colorful examples and trying things out. And yeah, it's so much easier to author machines with these new updates, and colors make them not just more beautiful, but makes it easy for you to highlight specific types of information in your graphs, especially when they're massive. It's really helpful. So we are so excited to share that with you. But just a tiny little wait longer, tiny little bit.
Yeah.
Well, great. Then I will call that a very short and sweet office hours. Just you wait till the next one. It will be a bumper edition, I promise you. And look out for later towards the end of the month, we have another webinar with an intro to Stately Studio, and that will be me and Anders. And that way, we'll hopefully be able to give you a tour of all of the cool new features that we've added to Stately Studio. And thanks, Martin. This is a really sweet message to end on. Nothing to ask, but just wanted to share my appreciation for all the hard work you're doing. And that is right back at you, Martin. We really appreciate you and the rest of our community. We really appreciate all the feedback you've been giving us. Though I know that you're probably one of the people that gives us the most amount of feedback on everything that we're building, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. It really, really helps us out. So on that note, thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Make sure that you're subscribed to us on YouTube or you're following us on LinkedIn. Those are the two easiest ways, or I think Twitch as well, to actually catch reminders on the next videos, the next live streams, or just any of the social platforms. You'll be able to find us on there. We're even on Instagram these days. So
Yeah.
we will catch you soon. Goodbye.